Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. If you want to join me on my live stream, check out the link in my description and comments below. I'm going to talk a little bit about the economy and the stock market and which stocks I actually believe, which category of stocks I believe will actually take the helm. Now, the recovery has actually been spurred on by industrials, banks, restaurant, and kind of like travel, because those are the ones that plummeted the most during the downturn. And now that we're having a recovery, those are recovering the most. But I don't think those are going to be long term. Industrials aside, those actually might be okay. Although, like, technically manufacturing the stuff, if no one's buying them, won't be good either. But here's the reason why, like, I don't think a lot of those will actually stay that high. And I do think we're going to go for another downturn. It's because, like, the reports that JCPenney is closing down stores, Boeing is laying off people, and a lot of retailers are closing down stores. My guess is a lot of those retailers are just looking for an excuse to lay people off anyways, and a lot of mom and pop stores have closed. That means millions of jobs are not coming back, and the employment rate is going to be much, much higher than it was. Even though, like, a lot of the big companies are hiring some back, like JCPenney closing stores, bam, that's thousands of jobs. You know, mom and pop shops closing, bam, that's millions of jobs. So even though I think the employment rate is going to shrink below 10%, it probably is not going to get below 7 or 8%. And that's going to have a profound effect on a lot of sectors as people are more careful about their money. So industrials, I think, are going to be okay for the most part. Industrials, like, yeah, maybe like manufacturing will be a little bit down. Banks, I think, will be okay as well. But the thing is, like, with so much money being printed, and this zero or negative interest rates, that's going to put pressure on banks to give like more loans out and worse loans out. We could have something happen like '08 where they actually give like subprime loans because the Fed funds rate is actually negative, which means they have to loan the money out. They just can't keep it at the Fed because they're actually going to lose money, and banks aren't going to want to do that. Travel. If travel right now is resurrecting, and in the next few months, if we don't have a giant second wave, I do believe it's going to come back because people are going to be bottled up inside and they're going to want to travel. But remember, travel actually costs money, and with a higher unemployment rate, less people are going to be traveling. So generally, over the long term of the next year or two, I do believe travel will actually go back down because there's not going to be enough spare money for people to actually travel with the unemployment rate being significantly higher. Restaurants, kind of the same thing. I think people at first will like flock to restaurants as they reopen for social gatherings. But because more people are going to be out of a job and maybe they won't be paid as much, they're going to have less money to actually go to fancy restaurants. So I think restaurants and service industry, those who haven't already closed, are going to go downwards too, in like the next year or two. Now they'll be for the ones that have survived, they'll be okay. But I don't think business is going to be good after like the initial wave of people coming back. Now, if there's another wave of coronavirus that actually happens and we have to shut down again, all this stuff is going to be scrapped and it's going to be devastated. But I think like travel, retail, and restaurants, they might have like a sudden wave of people actually wanting their products for a little while. But after a while, people are going to be like, wait, we don't have we don't have that much money anymore. Our financial future isn't really that safe. I think they're actually going to pull back from that. Now, groceries obviously are going to do fine because everyone still needs to eat. And I think like with more people staying in to save money, they actually might see a resurgence. Also, like restaurants like McDonald's, Wendy's, they're going to do fine as well because they're like really cheap and more people might actually go eat at them rather than the more fancy restaurants. So the thing is, one sector which I think is not really going to be affected is like tech sector, which is going to be like a stay-at-home tech stocks like Microsoft, um, Apple, Google. I like aside from like these like some random executive orders that Trump might actually sign today, I really think big tech isn't really going to be all that affected. All their guys can stay at home. Companies still need like maintenance. And generally in the downturn, tech stocks have actually done really well. And the thing is, they're the least affected by the downturn. They don't really need to lay off people. Their sales really haven't been affected all that much because a lot of them are corporate or enterprise sales. They haven't really been affected all that much, and they're actually going very strong. So tech sector stocks are would actually be my pick. And even though investors are feeling more optimistic about the economy's V-shaped recovery, from like an economic perspective, it might recover, bounce back mostly very quickly, and then people are going to realize, hey, a lot of people are still unemployed, and we're going to go for a longer type of recession. Not a depression, mind you, but a recession. And if COVID-19 outbreak comes back for a second wave, it might be actually a depression. So that's kind of like my thoughts about it. But outside of tech stocks, I also think like crypto is part of tech, I guess. I also think like stocks of crypto companies or cryptocurrencies are going to go up. Not the currencies themselves. They might go up. They might actually go up as well. But the stocks of the companies like, Ripple and other companies might actually go up because they're kind of like the hot new thing right now. They're not really going to be like their workforce isn't going to be really as affected by the virus as anything else. And a lot of their business is purely digital, which means they can actually focus on people that are actually staying home. So their sales or their activities can actually be online, which means like big tech, they're not really going to be affected as much. And I think they're going to be really, really hot because people are going to see in a while that these other industries, they're kind of like slacking down, and they're going to want a new industry to boom or a new industry to invest into. And that's where these new crypto companies that are going to or have IPO'd are going to actually come in. Now, that actually could stir up another ICO craze or another coin sale craze because people are going to realize, hey, we can't actually buy these companies because they're private. But what's the next best thing? Oh, we can buy their coins. So new ICO sales, despite regulations, might actually see an uptick, especially if they actually get the US securities license approval, which a few of them actually have gotten. And for those coins that are like currently out there and known, people actually might buy those as well. So this downturn eventually might actually be good for crypto because people are going to have to turn away eventually from like, travel, retail, and restaurants as, like the unemployment rate actually, actually sort of starts eating into them. And larger investors who do actually have the money, seeing those stocks actually retreat, might actually look at these new cryptocurrencies as replacements for stock investments, especially those who want to make a big bundle, because we all know how volatile cryptocurrencies are. And there's going to be a section of investors that are willing to take a risk. And they're going to be the ones that are going to pump certain cryptos really, really high, I bet. And there's going to be a lot of big pumps for like smaller cryptos now. So I think it's a good idea right now to maybe take 10-15% of your portfolio and concentrate on like cryptos outside the top 100 and seeing if you can pick a right one that actually gets a FOMO and that can pump like 10x or more. I'm not going to tell you which ones those are because I don't really know, but I do believe that like some of these really small cryptos that have a lot of hype behind them will actually pump a lot. So that is my view on everything. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.